Hola, welcome to my hike. I'm Kevin. Good for you for watching somebody exercise. Wouldn't it be great if you could burn up calories by watching someone else exercise? I wonder if there's an activity where you don't have to do an activity where you burn up calories. Maybe like if you got really scared or something, that burns up calories. Maybe that's true. Someone should do a study on it. All right, thanks for joining. Pull up those Spanx, take your protein pills, and why don't we go take a hike? Sharing the trail with me today, he's a New York Times best-selling author and humorist. His book tours always sell out. I love his dark comedy, it's right up my alley. He's sold over 12 million books and they're published in 27 different languages. Today we're hiking with the incredibly creative and prolific David Sedaris. So David, you collect steps on your Fitbit.
Yeah, I have a Fitbit.
How many does it hold?
And I have an Apple Watch. It holds up to 91,000 steps. That's my record.
Is that right?
43 miles. Like 4 of my toenails turned black and fell off. And to this day, I'll take my socks off and there'll be something hard in my sock and it's a toenail. Do yours fall off?
No. How many body parts have you had replaced to this date?
None.
None?
No.
All original parts?
Yep.
Original owner. Wow.
But I just got to be that age when you go to the airport and they say, "Sir, do you have any artificial joints we need to know about?"
They assume you do.
Yeah, but they yell it too.
I was at the airport a couple months ago, and the ticket agent looks at somebody's ticket, and she said, "Would the following passenger please come to the counter?" And she goes, "Kevin?" And then she recognized my last name, and she didn't want to blow my cover, so she whispered it into the mic. Into the mic. "Kevin, Nealon." So David, I watched your master class and I was so absorbed by it. I couldn't stop listening to it and watching it. It was so good.
Oh gosh, that's nice of you to say.
Yeah, I loved your dark humor. When you were talking about people that defecate in the dressing rooms at the Gap, I'd never heard of that. I thought, is this true? And it is.
Hugh, my boyfriend, worked at the Gap. And we call it the crap now because he told me that story about people defecating in the dressing room. And I repeated it one night in a bookstore. And a woman came up and said, "I work at Banana Republic, that happens all the time."
Really?
And then I repeated that. And then the next night, somebody came and said, "Oh, I work at Target, and it happens all the time." And they'll say, at Target, if someone shits in the dressing room, they make an announcement about some unclaimed merchandise left at the dressing room.
Oh.
And people do it. But in the circular clothing racks at Kmart.
Jeez.
And it's not
That's a
about
thing.
needing a bathroom.
Right.
It's about, I don't know, I guess leaving your mark. Because like a really high percentage of home intruders, like burglars, would shit on people's beds after they robbed them. Yeah, but DNA cut really back on that because now it's easier to find somebody. But in the days of yore, and people would just do that to
when yore was breaking into homes?
Yeah, yeah. When yore was breaking into homes, they did it even more.
You guys all right?
Yeah.
Let me know if you need any help. I was really curious to your wardrobe choice. And I watched you on some interview shows, and you're a culotte guy.
I love a pair of culottes. I have to go on TV tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm wearing culottes. You're used to going on TV. I'm not comfortable on television. And last night I watched the Academy Awards, part of it, and I thought, you know what? I bet a lot of those men are wearing Spanx. So I went out this morning and got a pair of Spanx to wear on TV tomorrow.
Do they sell them for men?
Yeah. It's like a t-shirt for a baby.
Oh, I know.
And I couldn't believe how hard it was getting into it. And then the saleswoman said, do you need a smaller size? It's like I couldn't imagine a smaller size.
Yeah.
But then she was on the phone when I walked in, and I was rushing there because I had to be here. So I rushed there, and I was with my boyfriend. And the woman saw me, and she said, "I gotta go. I see somebody who means business."
So
and it just made me feel even chubbier.
Do you agree with public displays of affection? Like, let's say somebody's proposing to a woman in a parking lot. Oh, isn't that unfair to the woman?
Well, you know what? Often when I'm signing books,
Yeah.
someone will propose to somebody else.
Really?
They'll get in front of me, and he'll propose. And I always say to the woman, I said, "Don't you dare marry him." I said, "This is like emotional blackmail. This is not an okay thing to do."
Yeah. I believe in people asking for a divorce in public. It's a lot safer, man. You ever have somebody bring back the same book like 10 times to sign it?
Okay, that's a thing now.
Yeah.
And it really, and I used to do it because, someone's asking you to do it. But now I don't do it. I just say, you know what? I did it once and that's enough. It's not about the money. It's really not.
No.
It's that they think it's the funniest thing in the world.
Right.
And a couple times I've said to people, do you have any idea how many people tonight have asked me to do that? But then they look like you slapped them, so you don't want to embarrass somebody like that.
One other thing about your masterclass, I learned that you do not like dogs.
Yeah,
What is that?
if you got on stage and if you said, I've been having sex with children since I was 20, okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you got up and if you said, I don't like dogs, you just lost half the audience right there.
I know. But not if you have a good reason.
I don't. People will come to a reading with a dog,
Yeah.
And
But David, they're blind. They need the help. Come on, don't be so hard on these people.
and everybody in line talks about the dog
Yeah.
and says, can I pet the dog? And the whole time they're in line. And then they get up there and I do not say a word about the dog. They always bring up the dog.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it used to be that way. Like we had a dog all the time I was growing up. And we would say, we should get a dog. And then we remembered that we had one. Like our dogs lived in pens in the backyard.
You a morning guy?
Morning doesn't really mean that much to me. Well, especially where I live now. Or where I live mainly in England.
Yeah.
At night, I can go and pick up litter along busy roads and there's no traffic.
That's what you like to do.
Yeah, so I get a lot of work done.
Why is that?
But partly it just drives me crazy. I mean,
Seeing litter. Have you ever seen anyone litter, throw stuff out of the car?
yeah, and I've seen him drop it, and I've seen
Will you say anything?
I'm too much of a coward.
Me too. Now what about throwing like an apple core out the window? You okay with that?
Apple core's okay.
One of the things we both have in common, David, you'll be happy to hear, is we both had kidney stone experiences. And you said you had 2 experiences.
I've had 3. The
3.
first one, I didn't have any insurance, and I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I couldn't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, I did it all night, and then I peed blood and what looked like a piece of gravel in an aquarium.
Any goldfish come out flopping around?
The second one happened in France.
Are kidney stones different looking in France? Or are they same? They look the same.
Well, what was great about France is that in America, they think you're just a drug seeker. So they don't want to give you the drugs.
Right.
And in France, they just give them to you.
Yeah.
And it was great. And then I had a third one in New York State. And the fourth one should be any day.
You could start a gravel driveway, man.
Really good. But, good thing, and you must know this, when you're doing shows, you got an audience.
Yeah.
Audience always gives you what you need. The audience is going to say to you, that's not funny. The audience is going to say, we stopped listening.
Yeah.
The audience is also, you get up there and you say, look, anyone with painkillers can come right to the front of the book signing line. And you wouldn't believe how much people are carrying. And I got fistfuls. And the only reason I wanted them was that if I was on an airplane and I have another kidney stone, I want to be able to take a fistful of painkillers.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason.
Do you remember your first heartbreak?
Heartbreak, yeah.
Yeah. What was it?
And it's funny because I've tried to write about it.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it was with a girl. But, I wouldn't have known what to do with her if she had submitted to me.
Yeah.
But I was in love with her nevertheless.
Right.
And then...
Can a gay man be in love with a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially I think when you're a kid and I guess I knew what my story was. But at that time, in like 1972, nobody was gay.
No.
And so you think, oh, it'll pass, or
Right.
oh, I'll start going to a psychiatrist and everything will be okay. And then she developed an interest in my best friend. And we went to the mall together, and she ran off with him.
Oh, no.
And they hid from me.
Oh.
And I've never quite had that feeling ever again. I mean, why did it have to be my best friend?
And did you break up with a friend from that?
Yeah. Yeah. But it was all the more complicated because you couldn't say like, well, I'm gay. So on the one hand,
Because you weren't really sure.
yeah, the most we could do is be friends.
Yeah.
Well, you're sure. You just don't want to admit it.
Do you
But
think... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm done.
Do you think once you come out of the closet, it's easier to be honest about other things?
Yeah, I think so because, I mean, it's, often I'll sign books and, you know, a woman will come and she'll say, this is my son Duncan and he's 13 and he's gay. And Duncan's a little bit like, because he's got the mom who really wanted a gay son.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's nice to see kids who don't have to, you know, basically form an alternative personality
right.
and live a lie
Sure,
and
sure.
hide themselves and because it's not healthy. It's not. It just deforms you.
Do you ever write when you're high?
No, I
did
wrote
you-
when I was drunk for years, but I couldn't write when I was high.
Yeah. You saw Hemingway did it that way, so you thought I could do it.
Well, you know, I started writing the same time I started drinking. And then
Oh,
I got
really?
it in my head that I couldn't write unless I was drinking.
Yeah.
And which was just stupid.
Right.
But, you know, then that's what keeps people doing things is just
Yeah.
fear. You know, and everything just got better when I
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah. Do you think you could write a book at Starbucks? I see
It'd be
people in
hard
there
for
all the time.
me
Yeah.
because I can't do anything if there's music with words
Oh, really?
going on.
Yeah.
So that would be hard for me.
I love your essay about Anne Frank's house, her apartment in Amsterdam.
Oh, well, you know, because that happened to me.
Yeah.
You know, we were looking, you know how like when you're looking at real estate, then you look at everything like
Yeah.
real estate. And then I was at the Anne Frank house and I was like, it's a triplex apartment right in the middle of Amsterdam. It's a great location.
Yeah.
The bathroom there, they have like one of the toilets looked like a beautiful soup tureen. You know, it had little scenes
Yeah, I've been there.
on it. But it was a hard thing to write about because I didn't want to, it was about real estate,
Yeah.
you know. But I read that, I recorded that for the BBC and this young couple came up and they said, we were offended by that, who do we talk to? And I said, well, you can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I said, if that was anti-Semitic, I really don't think it would have been in the New Yorker.
How great that you get to write for the New Yorker. I love those shouts and murmurs in there.
They're
so good.
I had something in there a few weeks ago and you know, so I got the actual magazine and I opened it up and I put it on the table and I opened it to the story and then I walked by and I'm like, wait a minute, that's me, that's my name.
Yeah.
And I want my 20-year-old self
I
to
know.
see it.
I
But of
know.
course that's impossible, but my 63-year-old self still gets off on it.
Were you ever in a fist fight?
I haven't been in a fist fight since, I was in a fist fight in the 5th grade.
How was your prostate?
They gave me this, what was it called? It was called an interrectal, it was a prostate check.
Yeah.
But it was called
The index.
it wasn't, but this was something they stuck what felt like a Golden Globe Award at my ass, right?
The doctors in show business too?
And it was called gosh darn it, let's say it was called the transrectal inventory, right?
Yeah.
And then I had to go back, and the doctor had written on his report, patient survived, patient endured, gosh darn it, the transrectal probe poorly. And I thought, how dare you? Because when he put that up there, here's what I said. I said, it reminds me of my first stint in prison. That's all I said. I didn't lash out. I didn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
But what are you supposed to do
Yeah.
when somebody sticks something like that up your ass?
People have no patience, man. It's all about immediate gratification.
It's like you have Amazon Prime now, right? You have cell phones where you could just, find out exactly what you need to know right away. Google. It's like people are being raised now where they don't have patience, like to wait or put time into something, don't you think?
I don't have any of that stuff. So, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to make a choice that I could either be a neurotic that way or neurotic in other ways.
You don't have a phone?
Not on me. My phone last week said I had 1.5 minutes screen time, and my goal is to cut that in half.
You don't do social media?
I have a Facebook account, but I've never seen it.
You have
an
Instagram
account. I've never seen it.
I saw it. It's the book. It's David Sedaris' book.
I don't know.
It's about your book signings.
I would never look at it. I would never read comments.
Yeah, I never read it either.
Never read reviews.
Yeah.
I get letters from time to time. Like this woman sent me, I was in Australia,
Yeah.
and this woman came to get a book signed, and I remember her, and I talked to her, and I had all these colored markers with me,
Yeah.
and I found out she had a boyfriend, and I said, I said, the bad thing about him is he's going to die one day. And I drew his tombstone in her book, right?
Yeah.
And I was nice about everything.
Right.
And then in the other book, I drew a tree on fire. Okay. She sent me both the books back, saying, I don't want your books. I'm never going to read anything by you ever again. I know my boyfriend's going to die one day, and I don't need you to remind me of it. But I was cheerful. You know what I mean?
You were being
She's
you.
not
That's
taking
you.
my spirit
Yeah.
into consideration. And it bothers me when people don't. It'd be one thing if I said, you in a relationship? Well, he's going to die. And then push the book back at her, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought we had a nice time.
Right. Right.
So that happens sometimes.
Right. I would be surprised that people that come to see you or want a book signed wouldn't have that sense of humor.
I know it. Me too. Well, then, sometimes they complain about language, or, you talked about, somebody sticking something up his ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's the best. Who doesn't want to hear about that?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the darkly funny, twisted mind of David Sedaris. Unbelievable. So fun. Man, I love it. Don't forget to check out his masterclass. So informative, so entertaining. Thanks for joining my hike. Please subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll catch you next time. Happy trails.